Hey there, Goa fans. Mark DJ Solitaire here with episode 34 of Retro Goa Explorations, my weekly series in which I share my thoughts about some of the great Goa Trance psychedelic dance movement music from the 90s, doing roughly in sequence, did a whole bunch of the 94 and 95 season, my first year in the scene. We're now into my second year of the scene, 95, 96, and an all-time phenomenal track by a combination project in a way. So a couple of members of one project with another member of another. And I remember very clearly when I first got this track and the lead up to that, as well as at least one occasion when it was played just incredibly. This is Slinky Nuns, Shitty Stick, in brackets, Better Than a Poke in the Eye with A. And I'll be explaining the title in a bit. And so Slinky Nuns is a combination of Slinky Wizard and Green Nuns of the Revolution. No surprise there, with not all the members from all the projects. So we've got George and Ronnie, George Barker and Ronnie Biggs from Slinky Wizard, together with Dick Trevor of Green Nuns of the Revolution. And this is actually the second track that they made, but the first one to come out. The first one that they made was Caught in the Zipper, which ended up coming out only, I think it was around 2011. Yeah, 2011 on this Mind Rewind charity compilation for kids in Goa. Dick said that was later redone. This is actually something not in the notes in that booklet. He said it was later evolved and shifted into Funkus Munkus, which ended up being a Slinky Wizard track. But this Shitty Stick track, Better Than a Poke in the Eye with A, was on the first Flying Rhino compilation, First Flight. This absolute beauty with this incredible CD, just amazing graphics by Mark Neal. I'm wearing this shirt because I thought it looked a little bit like that. And I first got this compilation when I came back from India, not Goa. I've still never been to Goa. I had my first trip to India just prior to moving away from Japan. And I was there, I think it was April into May. It was late April through May. So I came back early June, I believe, and called up Gio Macchio, my good buddy who used to play the chill out rooms at the Odyssey parties. And you all know from his brilliant Macchio and other down-tempo projects. And we were just catching up, and he said, oh man, there's this Flying Rhino compilation that came out that you got to get your hands on. It's absolutely insane. The graphics are insane. And he said, and the music, and he said, there's this, this, that, and the other, but he said, this Slinky Nuns track that's just off the charts. And sure enough, it really is. It's really an unbelievable track that it just stands on its own. It's one of my all-time favorites, has a really unique vibe that really does synthesize the best of both Slinky Wizard and Green Nuns. And this was made at Dick's studio, and they stayed up for days, as people did back then, and with great enthusiasm, working and working and working. And there's one part I'll point out later. Dick told me it's 3 seconds in the track, and it took about 3 hours for them to get that right. Right, so they were just working for days and days. And just for the equipment nerds over here, a Kai sampler, a 101, a 303, an Oscar, and a Nord lead were the basic equipment that was used. And for the title, I asked, it was pretty much what I expected. And Dick couldn't remember exactly, but he said, they were so pleased with it. And the Brits are always, into understatement and, a little bit of a negative twist on things. And so, yeah, it's all right. It's better than a poke in the eye, with a shitty stick. So, it's not too bad. Not too bad. Better than a poke in the eye, one of the greatest all-time tracks. Yeah, it's all right. Very British. It is really the most ecstatic, uplifting, explosive track. It's just in a whole other class of its own. And so with the title as well, by the way, putting Shitty Stick first and Better Than a Poke, I mean, would have been a little bit long to have all of that. But the brackets thing, those of you who were born before Google might know this, and those of you who weren't, pay good attention. And if you go watch old Simpsons episodes, you will get this. In libraries, when you looked at, there was this thing called a card catalog where you would look up titles and you'd look up topics. And there would be the general topic and then something about that topic that would come after a comma. And so you see Lisa Simpson doing this when she's looking through and finding, golf, Eisenhower and Japanese obsession with. So you have sort of the subtopic afterwards. And so this Shitty Stick, Better Than a Poke in the Eye with is just kind of that little sort of thing, right? So it is definitely better than a poke in the eye with anything. And we might as well listen to it now, huh? So enough background. Let's get this beautiful track playing. Better Than a Poke in the Eye with a Shitty Stick by Slinky Nuns. Okay, so just this laser, sounds like a ripping apart of fabric of the universe, but notice how it's going slowly first, almost that lower stuff, right? And then it starts to speed up. So it's like this machine getting its gears going. And then we've got that sort of rubbery kick going on. And all these atonal sounds coming, and then it just breaks up at the top. And then the beautiful octave. So it's just a bounce between an octave, which really gives it this kind of affirmational, uplifting feel. And just notice the regularity of the percussion, of that little kick and hi-hats rather, and bounce. And we're going to have lots of those, and then this kind of thing's getting a bit closer and closer, and then these crazy sounds, and then now we get the key riff here. And this riff is amazing because it's actually got some minor intervals in there, but it's got a fully, the vibe of it is very major keys, very uplifting. While there's that non-stop pattern going. It's kind of this off and on thing, where you have the change and the unchanging happening simultaneously. And then this kind of otherworldly psychedelic laughs happening. Hopefully laughing with us, not at us. And we get those wonderful intervals. Just that beautiful hook. It's so catchy. There's all these other sounds going on. And then we have these amazing thunderbolts. And again, that patterning on 8 bars, really hypnotic. And just more softly voiced, that riff. Just beautifully catchy. And it's super catchy, super uplifting, bouncy, lively. And then everything's just gonna break apart in this section right here. It's just like the sky is completely opening. And then just into this beautiful, bouncy, lighthearted numbers if none of that dramatic stuff had happened at all. And then the next riff comes in, it's got this really kind of throaty, raspy quality, chesty quality almost to it. This kind of granular kind of thing to it, while all that insanity is happening at the same time. And then it goes up, and then the voicing slightly changes. Sounds like it's doubled up with some other equipment, or the range has changed somehow. A little bit more electricity in the background. And how many crazy things going on at the same time. So uplifting, isn't it? Just the lightness of the percussion. And then that sort of a little bit mid-level riff going in here that just grabs you. Then, this is the climactic kind of riff. Super like arms in the air, celebratory, we're here, we're alive, instead of the alternative, better than a poke in the eye with a shitty stick. Then all of those things interacting. And there's this other exclamatory riff that comes in here. Just as if to hammer the point home if you didn't get it. And then this breakdown. Again, that riff just repeating, and as the drums kick out, and this just builds up. You know? Brilliant use of the lightness of percussion to get things moving. And just all heck breaks loose. There's a whooshy kind of thing going on here. And then that throaty, chesty riff comes back. Bit of that Green Nuns special, I think I dubbed it when I talked about Ring of Fire, this kind of cross-hatching sort of effect. Now on this upper level here. I mean, this is the kind of thing you just think it can't get higher, it can't go crazier, and then it continually does. So it just keeps climbing. And here comes that 3-second transition. It took 3 hours. Here. And just listen to those sounds. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. So there's that beautiful, beautiful riff. Voiced differently, and then how many different sounds, just completely otherworldly stuff. And then again, getting this point home here, just with that repeated note. All the other stuff is still climbing and working through. Riff again. And then this kind of trumpet, kind of clarion call. Again, this kind of triumphant yes, yes, yes. And just calming down with that riff, and then just a few little noises. I mean, you need to light up a cigarette after that one. What a track. I just played that one at Apsara this past August, and sure enough, I mean, I knew that was going to be a climactic point of the set, and it definitely exploded. But part of my memory and part of the energy around this that I'll never forget is when Ollie played this in London in March '97. Now, I was talking a little bit about that British kind of, you know, a little bit, you know, everything's got a negative twist to it, you know, better than a poke in the eye with a shitty stick. And I've talked and written many times about how Ollie was, my inspiration, and how he really captured and encapsulated so much of the energy of the scene. And played this absolutely blinding set, which was interesting to me. Some of the Brits at that party in Tyson Street in London just didn't really get. Too bad. But Ollie played this track, which was a year old, at least, by that time. And this friend of mine was dancing to this French guy who I've talked about before. He's the one I got the Great Spirit from. And somebody who was always focused on new music, getting new music. And here's Ollie playing this track that's over a year old, or at least a year old, but from when it was released. And this guy was just going absolutely crazy and just sweating buckets and just absolutely going for it. And I'd talked about Ollie before, and I think people who hadn't heard him just didn't get it. And he was really having it, as the Brits say. And I just sidled up next to him and gave him a little nudge and a wink, and he was just like shook his head like, holy moly, what is this? And it was like, something else, huh? And he's like, just kept on going for it. So and it's funny because Ollie had also told me that the intention was back then, that's different from retro parties now and how it's being done, that you played the tracks of that year generally. So in 94, 95 you played those tracks, in 95, 96 you played those tracks, 96, 97 you played those tracks. So, and I actually brought this track up as an example. I was like, yeah, I get that. And I remember when you played Shitty Stick, and it was a year later, and he's like, right track, right time. And I agree. That's the paradox, right? You can have your general plan, but then if it's called for, best do it. And as far as I'm concerned, this track is always called for. If you're doing an uplifting set, it just doesn't get better than this. Absolutely explosive, incredible, sky-opening, heart-opening, uplifting music from Slinky Nuns with their masterpiece, Shitty Stick, better than a poke in the eye with And so I will sign off now, leave the whole track playing without my commentary so that you can enjoy its splendor and dance around your living room or bedroom or on the train or wherever it is you're listening to this. Mark DJ Solitaire here, leaving you with Slinky Nuns, Shitty Stick, better than a poke in the eye with a.